beep, beep. Welcome to the court with the Edijester. How are we, good peeps? It's looking a lot like spring out there. I'm so happy to say that it's looking a lot like spring. It makes a change for us not to have to worry about being freezing cold. Though it's not exactly summer yet. I hate the weather. Right, okay, so important one for you. Breaking today. Breaking. Brought to us by the marvellous Hannah Barnes, who wrote, of course, Time to Think in the Torygraph. No, the New Statesman today. Links in the doobras as usual. Okay, we've got a new legal challenge, which was reported by the Statesman on the 24th of March. Very exciting. 2024. New legal challenges aims to restrict private gender clinics for teenagers. Yes, here we go. Get your hands off the kids, you absolute monsters. So, the only NHS, Hannah begins, the only NHS gender clinic in England will close its doors for good next week. Close its doors for good next week. Yay! Let's all hear it for closure of the NHS nonsense merchants at the Tavistock and Portman. So the Gender Identity Development Service, or GIDS, will be replaced initially by two new regional services offering a more therapeutic model of care. Puberty blockers will not be on offer. That's the first thing, right? We know this now. We've got to be very, very careful at this point. Hannah's going to lay it out for us now about this, but there is no compromise. None, for giving anyone under 18 cross-sex hormones, puberty blockers, or getting them involved in this nonsense. There's also an argument to be had that nobody should be doing it. That's where we should be arguing, right? I don't care who you are. You're not nicey nice in it. As I have written in the New Statesman Easter special, NHS services have been at a standstill for years. Good. I'm glad they're at a standstill. And the private sector has inevitably stepped into that void. GID staff who haven't been given jobs in the new gender hubs have moved to one provider in particular. So GIDs, they've got the new jobs in the new hubs, or they've moved to the private providers. Yeah. The private provider in particular, called Gender Plus. It's run by the clinical psychologist Dr. Aidan Kelly, who worked at GIDS between 2016 and 2021. At least 9 other GIDS staff, those who have provided endocrinology services connected to GIDS, are working there. But this week, legal proceedings will be launched, which, if successful, could hamper Gender Plus's business model and stop others hoping to gain approval for prescribing hormones to teenagers. Let's hope that includes the NHS, who are still gunning for gay boys. The psychotherapist Sue Evans, who was the first to raise concerns, Sue, you remember, was the initial whistleblower, to raise concern about GIDS when she worked there in 2005, nearly 20 years ago, seeks to challenge the Care Quality Commission in the High Courts over its decision to license the Gender Plus Hormone Clinic. Right, so the CQC, which is the Care Quality Commission, they look after all sorts of things, like they go into, homes and make sure those homes are working well and that they've got high standards. When we get these things come out where people are being abused in homes for whatever reasons, whether they're elderly or mental health, the CQC will step in and do stuff, right? So why the hell they're bloody supporting this is absolutely beyond me, right? Ugh. Official papers seen by the New Statesman accused the CQC of breaching its statutory duties under the Health and Social Care Act 2008. The CQC, right, they essentially said that about the CQC, the claimant, that's Sue, yes, is Sue, right? Am I getting this right? Sue Evans, yeah. The claimant seeks to challenge the lawfulness of the decision of the CQC on around the January 2024 to register Gender Plus Hormone Clinic to carry out the legally regulated services of treatment of disease, disorder or injury. It is not a disease, a disorder or an injury. It doesn't exist. It is a symptom of a greater malaise, a fetish or a paraphilia. Is it me, or have the CQC not got the bloody memo? Bloody CQC. Right? On top of all that, the Women's Rights Network wrote to them and they've doubled down. They've doubled down on it, right? They're not... Get them in court. Ugh. In 20 years of work, I don't think I've ever met a child that, in my professional opinion, clinically, I would have said they're fine to go forward for this treatment pathway after 6 sessions, said Sue. Sue, who now works in private psychotherapy practice, told me. That's what Hannah's responding to that. Evans also instigated a judicial review proceedings against Tavistock and Portman Trust in 2019, arguing that children could not fully consent to treatment with puberty blockers. Why do we have to do this? You know, why are we having to do this? Stand up, Rishi, stand up at the damn podium that we gave you, right? The Tory party, we voted in. You weren't voted in, but that's the Tories for you. The Tory party, right? Stand up and go. With immediate effect. Gender identity ideology, like they've done in El Salvador. Gender identity ideology, gender nonsense and gender woo will be removed from every public body, including the NHS. There should be no provision of service, because you don't give provision of service if you've broken your leg because you happen to have a scratch on your knee. Right? If you've broken your leg, you deal with the broken leg. Gender is the scratch on the knee. Gender dysphoria is the scratch on the knee. The problem is not the scratch on the knee, the problem is the broken leg. Which is usually abuse, right? Innit? Abuse, yeah. ADHD, looked after, anorexia, gay, lesbian, bisexual. It's all these things, autistic. And what they're doing is they're taking advantage of these young people. They're taking advantage of them. For money, in some cases. See America. That's where the money is, isn't it? In the Americas, right? So, what's going on? This time, however, this is the interesting thing, it's hormone treatment, not puberty blockers, that the subject of litigation. I believe that we need to continue to be cautious when children are concerned, said Evans. The kids that I met who are 16 or 17, so many of them. Evans gets it. Sue gets it. Sue gets it. Evans' new case argues that the CQC have agreed to regulate a treatment that has not been shown to be either safe or clinically effective. In bringing the legal action, Evans and another claimant, the parent of a 15-year-old who is seeking treatment with puberty blockers and hormones, hope to prevent private clinics prescribing to under 18s. That would be a brilliant start. A brilliant start. The NHS is still doing it. But that would be a brilliant start. Go read it, right? New Statesman, great article from Hannah. My take, it ends for everyone now. The whole damn fiasco. It stops, right? It stops. No bloody using much needed HRT, which women often need and some men need, right? Much HRT in order to regulate themselves to a natural state. Any use of any of these hormones for any other bloody reason, like growing breasts and LARPing as a woman and getting off on yourself, it needs to end, and it needs to end now. It does nothing but damage societally, psychologically, culturally, medically, in every way. This is a damaging symptom of a greater malaise that is cultural in people who are just insane. And it ends. That's how you deal with the trans rights activists. You stop it all. And then when they misbehave themselves, you arrest them and put them in jail. That's what you do. We've seen them. The whole damn thing needs to end. No compromise on any of it. That's my take. Your take might be different. And I'm sure that you will tell me in the comments. All right? That's your lot. Go. I said go. Bye.